Joining us now, Henrietta Trace, co-founder and director of economic policy at Veda Partners, and former Republican Congressman of Pennsylvania, Charlie Dent. So, Henrietta, talk about the direct impact of Trump's tariffs and the potential retaliatory tariffs from the EU. What could it mean for everyday Americans?
Yeah, it's a critical question right now. I'll tell you what has already happened. We were supposed to see the EU drop tariff rates on industrial exports to 0% this week. They called off that vote in the wake of the president challenging them and saying he's going to annex Greenland. So we've already lost a situation where free trade was going to start to flow again. Now going forward, they're talking about restricting access, restricting intellectual property protections. I mean, $100 billion worth of trade with the United States that they're already impacting and threatening to tariff. And what's more, there's an app that you can download in the EU to tell you if a product is made in America. And now Europeans are actively walking around trying not to buy American goods. The erosion and the corrosiveness of the president's agenda is really already harming U.S. exporters and business folks.
So, Henrietta, back in October, the IMF's managing director said uncertainty is the new normal. Now, of course, this is playing out again with all this talk of tariffs. How does that impact businesses as they're looking at their own bottom line, they're looking at investments, as they're looking to maintain something?
Man, and we haven't even gotten the big one yet, which is the Supreme Court ruling on whether or not the president even has the authority to impose these tariffs. Hopefully that'll come tomorrow. The way that I think about this is that we are now embarking on Liberation Day 2.0. If you remember the disruption of April, the stock market tanked. Every business was thrown into a chaos scenario where they didn't know what tariff rates were coming on which products or when they would start. That's effectively what we're doing now again. Any trade deal we had with the UK, with the European Union, those are being ripped up and eroded at a breakneck pace. And now every business that exports to the European Union, to the United Kingdom, is going to have to deal with brand new tariff authorities, new rates, implementation expectations, and compliance with Customs and Border Patrol. It is exactly Liberation Day all over again now in 2026 form.
So, Congressman, as the Washington Post editorial board wrote about Trump's unhappiness with the EU's pushback over Greenland, quote, the French sent 15 mountain infantrymen. The Finns and Norwegians sent 2 officers apiece. The Brits sent 1 officer, and he was not James Bond. But Trump reacted angrily, and now Americans will pay higher prices for products like Legos and Ozempic, both made by Danish companies. What's the political risk in forcing Americans to grapple with higher prices over Greenland, which by a wide margin, they don't agree with the administration policy on this?
Well, the first point, Chris, is that it seems that an American agreement can be negated now on a presidential whim. So trust has been shattered between the U.S. and the European Union and increasingly with NATO. So what the president has done, too, he's taken a very unpopular policy decision, that of buying or annexing Greenland. The public is wildly opposed to this, while at the same time marrying that up with more tariffs, which are also not popular and, of course, do hit people in their wallets. And as Henrietta pointed out, this relationship between the United States and Europe on an economic basis is so significant. It's over half a GDP between both of us. And the relationship isn't just based on the trade of goods and services, but also the investment flows between the United States and Europe. I mean, how many jobs in the United States are dependent upon foreign direct investment from Europe? I can tell you, it's a huge number. But so right now, we are in a situation where the president is going to create a lot of problems, particularly for his own party, as inflation continues to be an issue. Then now we're engaging in the more inflationary policy of more tariffs on top of the tariffs that have been previously agreed to. And now that the agreement that we had with Europe, or the framework of an agreement, is now in tatters.
So, Congressman, there was a new study that found that foreign exporters absorbed only about 4% of the tariff burden. 96% was passed on to U.S. buyers. So, to your point about Republicans, and they've got a critical set of midterms coming up this year, how do they defend the president's policies? I mean, for the first year, it was all Joe Biden. The problems with the economy were Joe Biden that he inherited, and he's making things better. But what do you do if you're a Republican running in a seriously contested contest.
My advice to them is that you cannot defend the indefensible or explain the inexplicable. We have known this from the beginning, that when tariffs are imposed, that they are going to have negative impacts on American manufacturers, American farmers, ranchers, consumers, retailers, you name it, they're having negative impacts. And this is a massive tax increase. I would advise Congress, members of Congress, don't just talk about it. Put in bills, force the Speaker, force the Majority Leader in the Senate to bring up a bill to override the president's ability to levy these tariffs. Reclaim your Article 1 authority. That's probably the most important thing they could do right now. They're going to need to show that they can be a check on a president who is just abusing his authorities with respect to Greenland and now again with tariffs.